All right, let me ask you something real quick. What if I told you right now today there are people in Jacksonville City government trying to redraw the political map before the 2027 elections? And if they are defeated, the neighborhoods that finally have real reputation on city council will lose it. That's not a theory. That's what's happening right now in Duval County. I need you to understand what's at stake before you hear the word race neutral. I think it sounds fair, because it's not. Let's talk about it.
Pull up, tune in, don't scroll past. Real talk, big questions, moments that last. Welcome to the mic where the people don't walk. This is DAX-Man. Let's talk.
So to understand what happened today, you got to go back to 1968. That's when Jacksonville merged the city of Duval County into one government. They called it Consolidation. And on paper, it made sense. The city was struggling. The tax base was shrinking, and they needed more efficient government. But here's what they don't always tell you about what Consolidation did to the black voters. So before 1968, black neighborhoods had their own representation in the old city council. There were people from the communities that had seats, had a voice, had power at the table. But when Consolidation happened and they merged everything into one big government, black voters now have a small percentage of the whole larger whole. Their political influence shrank overnight. It took decades, lawsuits, organization, and legal settlements before Jacksonville finally drew a district map that created 4 majority black council districts. They are District 7, 8, 9, and 10. That settlement happened with the ACLU and the Southern Poverty Law Center. The maps were supposed to hold for 12 years. Guess what, guys? We're not even halfway through that 12-year period yet, and they already want to change. So, here's what's happening today. We have the Republican City Councilman Rory Diamond. He's pushing to redraw these maps before the 2027 city election, and he's using a U.S. Supreme Court ruling as his justification. The case is called Louisiana versus Calais. It came down in 2026, and it is a 6-3 decision that conservatives majority. The Supreme Court ruled that race cannot almost never be used as a factor when drawing. Let me say that again. Let me say that again. It says the conservative majority, the Supreme Court ruled that race it said that race can almost never be used as a factor when drawing district maps, even if the whole purpose of those maps was to protect minorities voters from discrimination. Diamond has called this proposal race neutral maps. Now let me stop right here. Because that phrase, race neutral, sounds balanced, right? It sounds fairness, like nobody wins, nobody loses, everybody's treated the same. But that's not how it works. When you have 60 years of history, 60 years of documented political disadvantages that you're pretending doesn't exist. What race neutral actually means is this, in context. We're going to redraw 4 black districts before the 2027 elections, break them up and watch what happens to the representation in those communities. That's the honest translation. Now, I know some people here redistricting and their eyes glaze over. Sounds like politics, boring, far away from real life. But let me break it down in plain terms. Your city council members control local budget decisions. They vote on where money goes for schools, roads, parks, public safety, and city services in your neighborhoods. District 7, 8, 9, and 10, the 4 majority black districts, those are communities on the north side, the west side, and other parts of Jacksonville that have historically been under-resourced and overlooked. Historically. Not making this stuff up. Having a council member who comes from those communities, who were elected by those communities, is not just symbolic, it's structurally. It's structural, it's solid. It's about who has the power to advocate for your block when budget season comes around. And right now, the push is to change those maps before the 2027 election. Not after a census, not through a normal reapportation, not after a census, not through normal reapportionment. Get that word right. And right now, the push is to change those maps before the 2027 elections, not after a census, not through the normal reapportionment process before the next election. Why the rush? That's the question Jacksonville residents deserve honest answers to. All right, let's show you the broader picture. This isn't just a Jacksonville issue either, guys. Nationally, analysts are saying that this Supreme Court ruling, Louisiana versus Caleres, could trigger a redistricting wave that wipes out as many as 19 majority minority congressional seats across the country. 19! Governor DeSantis is already using the ruling to justify redrawing the Florida congressional maps 6 years early. The Northside Coalition of Jacksonville, Florida, rising to other communities, organizations are fighting back. They're calling it exactly what they believe it is. They believe it's an attempt to suppress minority political power under the cover of legal language. Kelly Fraser, president of the Northside Coalition, said, and I'm quoting directly here, "Black voters are used to illegal tactics being used to suppress representation, and Governor DeSantis' new congressional redistricting map is just one more attempt." Those aren't fringe voices. Those are community leaders, civil rights organizations, and legal advocates who have been in this fight for years saying this. They know it's about to happen. Do you? So here's my take. Now here's where I'm going to give you what I'm thinking about. I believe in fair maps. I believe in representation that actually reflects who lives in a community. That's not partisan position. That's common sense. And I understand that the legal landscape has changed. The Supreme Court ruling is real. Courts will have to sort out a lot of this. But I also believe that you cannot ignore history and call the result fairness. History is history. Jacksonville had 60 years of consolidation government that diluted Black political power. The districts we have now are the result of legal battles and settlement designed to correct that action. 60 years. To turn around and redraw these maps in 2026, right before election, using a brand new Supreme Court ruling as cover, without a censorship, without the full reapportionment process, without giving the community time to organize and respond properly, that doesn't feel like fairness to me. That feels like strategy. And I think Jacksonville deserves better than that. Here's where I want to leave you. There is an ongoing situation. No final decision yet, of course. Rory Diamond has talked about introducing legislation, but it hasn't happened yet. The 2027 qualifying deadline is January. There's still time for community voices to be heard. If you live in Jacksonville right now, if you care about representation, if you have an opinion about this, now is the time to get informed, get engaged, get vocal. Know who your city council members are. Know what districts are being discussed. Show up to public meetings. Call your representatives. And most importantly, talk about it. That's why we're here. So let me ask you this. Do you think Jacksonville should redraw its city council districts before the 2027 election? And if they do, who do you think that really benefits? Who do you think that it really benefits? Drop your answer in the comments. Let's talk about it. I'm DA X-Man. This is DA X-Man Let's Talk, and we keep it real.
Pull up, tune in, don't scroll past. Real talk, big questions, moments that last. Welcome to the mic where the people don't walk. This is DA X-Man. Let's talk.